All right, let's get this started. Lambie or someone over here, can one of you guys confirm that my mic is correct?
Correct.
All right, perfect. Well, everyone, welcome to the first live dev blog. If you guys are having some weird elevator music, there's a button at the bottom left to disable it in there. I just found that out, so this is the first time we've ever used a stage instead of just going into a voice channel with everyone muted and respecting push to talk. So bear with us. There might be some technical difficulties, but this is a work in progress. This is the first. All right, perfect. If you guys have any questions or anything as we're going through this, you can write inside the live Deadblog chat. You can write in general chat. I believe Binge also has a few other things set up for questions. But overall, if you guys have a question, we'll be more than happy to assist you. At the end, we plan on doing a kind of QA with the whole team. So if you have a lore question, Lambie or Soshi will be able to help you out. If you have something pertaining to GMs, Necrom can answer it, and so on and so forth. We're all here to answer any of your questions and kind of explain and show what we've been working on and planning to work on in the future. So let's get this underway, and I'm going to start sharing my screen here. So let's do this. Here we go. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it. I'll give everyone about a minute to be able to connect over. Can someone confirm by chance if we're live on the live stream?
Yes,
so
you are.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Matsod and Dishon. All right, let's get the start. So let's start from left to right on my screen. Hum, you want to introduce yourself? I'm just kidding. Hum can't introduce himself. So what we do is we have some GMs who like keeping themselves privated, and we also have public GMs as well. So we're going to start off with the first one. Necrom, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. So I am GM Nericrom. I started back in December. I've been primarily in charge of NPC placement and other things, and been shifting over to some other tasks such as maps. So when y'all see those in game, those will probably mostly be me.
Sonaro, although people already know you quite a bit.
So, one sec.
Sorry?
Once.
Hi.
Hello.
Bando, does your mic work, bro?
Yeah, it does. Of course it does.
Perfect. Go ahead and introduce yourself too.
I'm Bando, Bananaj, however you want to say it. I am the head GM. I do all of the things Rect doesn't want to do. But seriously, no, I do a lot of various different things. Manage the GMs. I do a lot of GM work with NPC placement and fixing random things here and there. So yeah, there's probably a lot of different various things that I have touched or messed with in game. But yeah, I'm always here to answer questions and help out where I can.
Lambie?
Can I?
Yeah. Yep, Sonara, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, sorry, your mic was so low I couldn't hear. Sorry.
Yeah, my problems. So, my name is Cernaru. I'm head of public relationship. I was in the past community manager. And yeah. I deal also with the HR part of the team, and that's pretty much it. I help with keeping the morale up and talking with the public, making sure the public opinion is great. So dealing with suggestion, ideas, criticism. That's pretty much it.
Lambie?
Yeah, I am Lammy, even though Rex hasn't said it right once in almost 2-3 years. I've been on the project for a while as the head of lore or member of the lore team. I also double as a GM, so I help out with things like getting zones ready, implementing quests, implementing NPCs. I'm responsible for rewriting the story, and happy to be back.
Soshi, want to say hi?
Hello, I'm Sushi-san. I am also on the lore team working under Lambie, and I also don't get his name correct. I'm basically working with various quests wherever they need me to go, and I am also in charge of the organization system.
Fantastic, thank you. And D-Flow?
Hello everyone, my name is Dflow and I'm currently working on the events you're gonna see in game. Yeah.
Perfect. And with, I believe, the majority of everyone who's public, with all of them out of the way, I am Wrecked. As many of you know, I am the owner of this project and founder of it. And I'm not normally an orc. I don't like to be an orc. So I'm just going to change to something a little bit more comfortable. So, just to feel a little bit better as we go throughout these zones and explain some things in game. So I just want to feel a little bit more comfy. So first things first, let's get going over here and seeing what we're going to do. I'm going to log out really quick on our menu to kind of explain what's going on here while the GMs take a little bit of a rest. So let's start basically from the main menu, and then let's kind of work our way into the game itself. I'm going to be explaining or kind of showing you guys as well what the plan is for in the future. And then we'll be going from there and basically one step at a time, zone by zone. So let's start off with creating a new character. Immediately, you're going to see that the Alliance, Neutral, and Horde are relatively the same. Some of the art has been changed quite a bit, but otherwise it is mainly as it was originally. The same thing goes with character selection. However, now you have the option to be a Necromancer. The Necromancer is a work in progress kind of class. We'll go over it a little bit later down the line, but for the time being, we'll just leave it as that. It's our newest class. The main thing I want to show you guys in the characterization or customization is the third page. We've implemented over 150 unique variations now for your orc or undead or whatever you want. Primarily from the retail versions, but there's also customizable ones as well, or special ones. The background of Orgrimmar is a work in progress. We do have a wonderful developer who is changing the background, so this will be custom by the time we implement testing to kind of symbolize more so towards the Alliance and what Horde actually stands for, or basically not the old school Orgrimmar that we know or used to know. But yeah, so we have all kinds of different customizations. This goes for all the original classes, or I'm sorry, all the original races. And don't be worried, your scary, creepy, undead guy who just looks like he just came out of the dirt is still possible. It's not like there's anything that's weird or wacky with him. He can be still completely undead, or you can change him based off of however you want, truly. It's completely up to you. We have all kinds of different variations now with the jaws, the bones, the neck, the skin, you name it. We have so many now for you guys. In addition to that, we have some really cool stuff. If we switch on over to the Alliance side, that way I'm not biased to the Horde. If we head over to the Night Elves, you can see that we have a lot of different customizations as well for them, as well as some really unique ones with some kind of fire branding, if you will. But yeah, we got everything over there. So pretty much we took the good from retail and the good from classic and we combined them into one so you can customize your character however you wish. We're going to plan on revamping this UI in the future to make it a lot better, but for the time being we really just want to make customization a really big thing here in the server, primarily because of our player housing systems and how the characters themselves actually are kind of in reference to who you are, who you want to be in this world. So we're going to go back into the game itself, and we're going to teleport back over to Durotar to start out. Lambie, if you could relatively stay near this island with a few other guys, that way I can port in later. Um, so this, to start out, is our new racial island. This is not going to be a required island you have to go through anymore right off the bat. We're going to allow you guys to go through your original zones, Elwyn Forest, Durotar, and when you feel like you want to grab a racial, you can grab it through this zone. You'll have an NPC that's outside of the starting zones. And once you talk to him, he'll say, hey, I'm going to travel you to a new world. I'm not going to ruin the lore for you, but I'm going to travel you to this area, and then you complete a whole quest line or quest chain, so to speak, and basically get your racial. We have between 40 to 60 racials in total. We do have still the original racials in case you still want them. But one of the complaints that we had was, well, if you have 9 racials you can pick from, why couldn't I just always pick the human racial? That's the best racial for PvP. Or why don't I pick the org racial always? And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to change it up to give you guys some brand new racials and test them out and have some fun. So this is what this whole area is basically really all about, is being able to go through here and fight NPCs and see what certain racials do, what you might like or what you don't like, and things of that nature in the future. This is a completely custom zone, wasn't taken from anywhere else really. And was basically made for this part. It's the introduction to our storyline. The maps themselves have also been going underway into work. Currently, we're testing a new client where the client itself is 25 gigabytes. So if you guys remember the older clients, we were looking at around 50. We nuked the client down to about 20, 25, 26. It honestly, it might cap out at around 30, like a little bit less than 30, maybe 32 tops, but that's it. We spent about the last 3 weeks just murdering it. So there's some things missing, such as the mini map. There might be some creatures that are looking weird, maybe a little bit green. That's all just things we have to knock out right now. But that's why, for example, you might be seeing some weird distractions or what's going on. And don't worry, we have a lot we have to cover. So I'm kind of trying to go through the zones first. And then from there, I will be showing you guys what our systems are and all the pretty stuff that I've showed you in previous devlogs as well. So yeah, let's get through it. So yeah, again, this is our racial island, but we're going to teleport to somewhere that you guys have seen before. We're going to teleport to Durotar. Let's see, where are we actually going, Durotar? Perfect, the Outer Ring. So Orgrimmar is you know and love in our world. If you noticed before, we had the really weird white rocks. These white rocks have been replaced and instead have been implemented with the proper quality or coloring to make the zone feel a bit better. I'm going to teleport over to Razor Hill, just that way I can show it off a little bit and explain a little bit better. The skyboxes have been implemented. There's a large work in progress at the moment to make it a lot neater for these zones. But at the current time, they're more or less placeholders to get the lighting down, in a sense, to make the areas a bit better. 1 to 20 is relatively polished out. However, there are some minor issues that we still need to fix or overcome, but overall it's looking pretty good. So currently, as it stands, we have original Durotar. However, there have been new unique locations, like I'm going to show you here. I'm going to implement my speed over to 20 and increase my fly mode. Over here on the back side of some mountains, and this is just one example, you're going to find new locations such as this. And these are going to be really out of their way. These areas are going to require stuff such as mining. Now, there's no way to get into them relatively for now. I mean, if you were a blinker, maybe you could blink through it, you know, right? Being cheeky. But what we're going to be implementing is a kind of revamp to the profession system, which I'm going to get a little bit more into. But I wanted to address it in regard to Durotar since we're already at the zone. And it's a great example of the things that you can find while lurking around. Something else I want to mention as well is during our last release, we were really serious about you guys not seeing certain zones beforehand. We're dropping that rule, so to speak, where we kind of don't want you being at GM Islands. You know, that's normal. But at the same point, if you go to a different zone that you're not supposed to be in, we're not going to bash your head over it, is the best way to put it. You know, one of the best or funnest things I personally find is exploring all of the world and, well, teleporting back with the Hearthstone. So if you get stuck, just, you know what you did. So let's move over here. So coming up here is the introduction into the normal orc or troll location. You can see that some of the NPCs are floating. This is because we haven't recompiled what's called the core maps yet. Once it is finished, though, he'll just be walking nice and calmly. You can see that we are on a test server, so that's why some things are kind of weird and others are nice and crazy. This is one of the many locations in our starting zones right outside where you're going to be able to go to that new racial zone that I was telling you about. They're outside every area. So in Elwyn Forest, there's one. In Dunmoreau, there's one. And in Durotar, there's one. And they're themed for the area. So, for example, you have a Kodo here. You have the Orgrimmar stuff, but if I were to teleport to, say, for example, let's say Goldshire, just for a brief moment over here, and I headed over just for a quick moment, you're going to see that along this path, right up here towards Northshire Abbey, I believe it is, you're going to see a human version as well. Once you're finished, of course, once you go through this quest line, then you're going to teleport basically right back over here and continue your quest line. So wherever you start out, in a sense, wherever you start doing the racial area, you're going to teleport right back to where you started and then continue the quest line from there. This is Benny. He's just our, quest giver, NPC, placeholder kind of guy. Just to, look kind of cool. Benny's a great guy. He does whatever we tell him to do. So, he might be mind controlled, but don't tell him that. So moving forward, I am reading the chat every so often. I try picking up as we go, just to mention some things or show off a little bit, So one of the other things that was mentioned too is our events. Our events sometimes would go through buildings, and I don't know if there's an event per se going on. There is a festival going on at the moment, but we did also move them over. So, for example, if I tell you over to, let's say, Morgar's having a little bit of complications, but if I teleport to Bloodhoof, I think if I do that and I don't crash, perfect. You'll see that Darkshore is now placed over here. And so everything is now basically out in the open. It's not on the outside of Thunder Bluff anymore, per se, but is in an area that is now accessible and basically able to play instead of, being running around and jumping into a tree and kind of being really upset. So there's that for you. We have improved a lot of different zones. So if you guys are fine with it, then we're going to keep moving forward. Something else to keep in mind as well that I noticed you mentioned, Arthur, about the maps being reworked. The main cities at the moment have the same map. We're looking to change them. However, something we did do is we tried syncing up the maps with the player locations. So, for example, if I teleport over to Orgrimmar right now, just in a moment, as long as I have the file right, or this would be awkward. Perfect. You'll see that my character at the very front of Orgrimmar is correctly placed. So you'll be able to correctly figure out where you are on the map. However, right now, it's not our favorite quality. We're working right now to actually make it look a lot better at the moment. But unfortunately, that's what we have to work with because we've been working on zones. So I'm going to teleport over to Crossroads here briefly. And we're going to go towards the southern side of Crossroads. And once we get past a few of the zones, then what we'll do is we'll start going into, say, the different UI changes, going into the different mechanics that we've added and things of that nature. But I just want to show you guys some of the actual areas that we've implemented. Don't worry, your world bosses are still there. You have Vulcanar, chilling in his lava pit. So let's head on over there. My orc can run fast. Wait, why am I an orc? There we go, that's better. My Stitch can run fast. Or fly fast, depending on the day.
And now he's level 2.
That's right. And now I'm level 2. See? Look at that. Exploring the world matters. And believe it or not, I froze. So I'm going to need 1 moment. This must be because of the client piece. So give me just a moment. And I will swap it over to this. So that way then you don't have to worry while I reopen. Let me get this going. It's because we were working on an area down south. So what ends up happening sometimes is it will not like me and then want me to move.
We've just
There we
had
go.
Wrath.
I fixed it. Sorry?
We've just had Wrath of the Stitch King put in the chat. I would just like to point out that might fit into our lore.
Yes. So one of the things that were recently put in back before is the dragons. We kind of modified the dragons to make them look a lot better visually, and also the Baron skybox is a lot different as well. We put that in there, but once you get
Not
to
the
this part,
birds.
yeah, once you get to this part, you'll start seeing a kind of change, which you guys basically saw before in essence. However, we weren't quite done with it. So we're gonna just skedaddle through here to the part that you guys didn't see. Our Tuskarr and murloc gone permanently are just pending optimization. I didn't see them in the character creator. They are in fact here. Just right now, they are basically as is at the moment. We still have to figure out what we're gonna do with them, based on how they were originally made. I'm not going to lie and tell you that armor's made with the murlocs right now. The issue with murlocs is specifically due to the armor, but it's a work in progress at the moment. We're trying to figure it out. Worst case scenario, we have to figure out maybe how to change like how they look itself. So let's get into Thousand Needles though. Welcome to Thousand Needles. Thousand Needles was, well, why don't you do a little bit of the lore here, Lemby? You're better at it as an explanation.
So, Thousand Needles here is kind of living up to the name of Thousand Needles. There are a lot of nice pointy rocks, but you'll notice that it's not really the same rocky desert that it was. The terrain here is a lot colder, a lot harsher, and you might find some creatures in here that aren't quite as friendly as some of the others have been. Specifically down at the bottom of this elevator, as Rect is probably about to show you guys.
Yes, we're gonna move our way down here and show you guys the craziness. However, I just realized that there's no elevator on this side because
That
it
one
was
doesn't have one.
destroyed.
Yep.
So I'm gonna fall because I'm cool. Stitch to his death, but guess what? I've God mode on, so smile. If you want Lamby, you can explain a little bit through this.
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is a zone that is very different, and the kobolds have slightly taken up a little bit of a home on Kalimdor here. You may notice that some of them are, well, let's just say if Rect did not have God mode on right now, he would be a very dead little Stitch.
Yes. Now, there are a lot of issues in regards to walking around not Stonetalon, I apologize. Walking around Thousand Needles. Primarily, one of the issues being that actually there is no understanding of where the roads are. Thousand Needles is basically one very, very, very large maze. And it sounds crazy, and you're like, oh god, here we go again. However, in just a moment, I will show you the world map that's been done by one of our wonderful guys. I'm going to share it here in Paint. Don't think I did this in Paint. I'm not that good, but let me swap it over to this part. This map is still a work in progress at the moment. We still have to wowify it, if you will, a little bit more. But you'll be able to see the kind of understanding of what our Thousand Needles is now. So the maps themselves, you can see that the roads, there are none. You have to figure out your own pathing here. The free wind post is still there. However, everything else, no idea. It's unexplored territory, so to speak. So you have to figure it out. I wish I could do some sort of way in order to make it so it reveals itself over time. However, given the type of the map, it's too complicated at the current time. So Thousand Needles is going to be extremely complicated, but don't worry, because it's not per se the only way, but it kind of is at the same time. So moving forward though, you'll notice that there's cracks in the area. You will be able to go through them. You could go through the cave over there, or maybe you could go to the left, but we'll go to the right here. And you'll see, of course, the snow vermin hiding, everything else. And I'm going to enable my mod speed here to be a little bit faster because with one speed, it feels very big, but we kind of want to also go through this and, not get lost. So here we are. This is the basic opening, if you will, for 1,000 Needles. You have a frozen lake, and then you also have crevices that you can fall into and die to your death. Well, not really, but I'm pretty sure you're dead if you jump off. So let's not try it. Do you have anything to comment over here, Lambie?
Yes, you may find that this area is not the most friendly in the world. You will find that there are a lot of people around here who are up to no good. You'll see the tentacles. You can probably take a little bit of a guess as to what's going on here by the fact that Rex just showed the Twilight Bodyguard.
Yes. And then, of course, you have elementals that are very upset and having a really rough day. So yeah, you have quite a bit going on here. However, once you get past this icy maze, if you do and you're lucky, you'll have the remnants of a city that will be what's aiming to be a neutral capital, but you're not going to have access to this city right off the bat. If you go here without doing the quest lines in different cities or zones per se, you're going to have this entire faction hostile to you. But this is a level 60 location, and this is located on the right side of 1,000 Needles. So right off the bat, it's going to be hostile to you. Once you do, say, a few quests and you make them basically like you and gain introduction, you'll be introduced into the city or remnants of Rocket Sand. For a little bit of background, this entire area of Shimmering Flats used to be Rocket Sand until the goblins blew themselves up. And here we are. If you want to give a little bit more, Lambie, feel free, but I'm just going to walk around a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it was here originally, but there weren't any NPCs or anything.
Yeah, so it's worth pointing out that the lava side of this is actually not the natural state of 1,000 Needles. It seems a little weird to have lava next to ice. The gist of it is goblins. These little guys love to create their explosions, as we all know far, far too well. But at the end of the day, not all of their experiments go too well. And what we're seeing here is a city, or what's left of the city, that they accidentally blew up a lot of.
Yeah. I meant neutral. Sorry. I'm sorry if I said troll. But yes, so you're going to have a storyline here in regards to the thugs versus the city police. So cops versus robbers, basically, as far as the storyline here in Rocket Sand. Let me move forward. So one of the things about traveling inside of this is we kind of want to make it towards the classic. One of the questions was, did we implement anything new as far as movement type? One of the things we plan on doing for low levels is possibly implementing temporary mounts where you can mount up if you already don't have a mount and walk. However, we don't want you to feel in the sense of I can just fly from one place to another in 5 minutes. We want you to be kind of worried on your travels. So if you're going down to Tanaris, you can take a flight path that's normal. But if you're going down it via path in particular, or you're just say going to it, then you have to be really careful. And that kind of goes into the next idea for a location in mind that we have over here. So I'm going to bring us over to the next side of the area. We are going to go over, I think the best route is actually introducing into Stonetalon before I go into Ferelis for the work in progress part. So let's go over into Stonetalon, shall we? We're gonna fly our way over there and go super duper fast because we're super duper cool. In a stitch. All right, here we are. So right off the bat in Stonetalon, we're going to see just minor changes for the time being. We do, of course, have the raptors. We have everything normal, and life is living completely fine. However, you'll see the introduction into Stonetalon being different compared to the standard Stonetalon. You'll see, for example, this entrance. This is one of the many ways you can get into Stonetalon now. If you go up this path, you'll be able to go into Mulgore. Mulgore has basically 3 exits. The standard exit, the exit at the top left, Stonetalon Pass, and a unknown exit, so to speak. Now, the Torns are really upset with things getting cut down, basically, but I'm not going to go into spoiler with the story there. Let's see over here. As far as the stream quality, I will try to pause every so often just because of how things work. And keep in mind that with this Devblog, there are a lot of things we're showing. So basically everything is one big spoiler or, well, yeah, one big spoiler pretty much. So the Grim Totem have increased in population over here for the most part. It's pretty much relatively as you would normally see it in expectation. But let's head on up over here because this is similar to one of the biggest parts. Necrom was in charge of basically populating this whole area. So as far as placement or some totems that you might see or even torches, everything basically, he's been in charge of cleaning it up for NPC placement with him and his team. So if you like
Done
it, make
a
sure
great
to
job.
ping him like crazy and tell him thank you.
Yes, he did indeed do a great job of this.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
So on the left side, you'll see spiders. You'll see Horde has kind of gotten terrified in regards to having barricades, and you're like, well, what the hell is going on over here? And you'll see all throughout Stonetalon, Horde versus Alliance, quite a bit. So here over on this side of the Horde, you'll see that they are trying to mine through the cave that's kind of destroyed, or possibly just completely brand new, trying to open it up.
Maybe
Go for it.
maybe they just want the secret treasure chest that's hidden inside.
Or that, depends on the day. Or going down further, you'll see these kind of areas. This hints towards our lore if you want to go into a little bit more detail, Lambie.
I am not sure how much I can say without giving too much away.
Fair enough. See, you're going to have a lot of that happening. Ashenvale is, and we'll go into Ashenvale in a little bit from now to do some explanation on. Also, yes, so because I have GM mode on, everything is neutral. Whereas if I turn it off, everything would kill me because they don't love me. Well, however, without that though, moving forward. So this is one of the areas. We have a destroyed portal on this location. I'm not going to go into details as to why it's destroyed. However, there are lore implications that you'll be able to figure out from there, as well as basically talk to some people and whatnot. One of the things I wanted to show you, I can't tell you if we're going to rebuild a portal. That would ruin many surprises. Come on now.
Now, I can say something about that without
Go
giving
ahead.
too big of a spoiler. The orcs tried building a portal and it went kaboom. You will experience why. You will find out what the implications are, and you'll find out why they even tried to turn it on to begin with.
Yes. Orca Zug Zug. If we head over into the lovely area over here, you'll see that Sunrock Retreat has been a bit different. They've gotten quite a few upgrades, so to speak, and some peons are actually doing their jobs. Crazy enough, huh? Maybe they got hit a few times with an axe. Who knows? But Sunrock Retreat is basically, in essence, a kind of military camp. So lots of crazy stuff's going on over here. Lots of magic is going on. Basically, war is brewing. Now, we all know in the previous time that we released, due to some wonderful YouTubers, that our Teldrassil was at war. And Orc was invading Teldrassil. But if we see over here as well, Teldrassil wasn't the only area that was under attack. No, no, no. In fact, it's also Stonetalon. The orcs are attacking Stonetalon. So the Night Elves are trying to defend themselves as it currently stands from the Horde. However, I will say this. While you are Alliance, you will be trying to defend Stonetalon, and while you are Horde, you will be trying to attack Stonetalon. Both sides will have different things going on and important locations. Take, for example, this right here. These are level 28 rares trying to have a communication with their High Lord 62, low HP, don't worry, with their High Lord, trying to figure out what are we doing here? What's going on? We have offensive scouts that are being killed off at the moment with stone guards trying to take care of them. Resting locations. We have archers on the hills going on right now. We have battle guards right here. The warlords hiding within their caves with messengers moving back and forth, giving discussions. I'm not going to reveal what's being said over there. Lots of things going on. Lots of things moving all at once. So yeah. Stonetalon is at war, and it's going heavily at war. Meanwhile, however, sometimes when you have crazy people, you have cults happening at the same time. Where, yeah. So this goblin, he's doing something. We're not going to reveal what he's doing, but I think we can get some ideas as to what he's come up with, in a sense. I think he has a bad idea, but we won't go into it. We'll let you guys figure out the storyline once you
It's
get
probably
there.
a great idea, actually.
It's probably a great idea. Yeah, let's be honest.
Not-
I'm bored.
not-
I can say it's a great idea.
It's a great idea, just not for the Night Elves.
So, it might get interesting. But moving forward. So we have that going on in Stonetalon. And then we have also Ashenvale complete. Ashenvale was complete a long time ago. I'm deliberately skipping this area, which will be important to you guys later, but I'm not telling you. We have the wonderful Pride Wings flying around. But if we head back towards the portal being destroyed.
If you just turn back a moment and head to the hill on your left. You'll back by the base of the portal.
By the base of the portal.
You will see on the hill to your right.
This one?
Rex does not know his left from his right. I apologize. To your left. Now turn to your left.
Beep, beep.
You guys will notice some NPCs are around who are names you might recognize. You'll probably be seeing people like that a little bit more often than you would have done in vanilla.
I thought you meant he'll wait up here, not this small guy who totally is not relevant to the lore in any shape or form. Nope. I should make him bow down to me. Nope. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this is an entrance into Ashenvale. The Horde's kind of been having a little bit of a crazy day. Keep in mind here, as we're going through this area, you're kind of seeing Cataclysm. If you're familiar with the retail expansions, you're kind of getting an essence of original Cataclysm with some customization, with also classic at the same time. It's kind of weird in that way, and that's the idea behind our world. Is you don't really understand what's going on because so much is exploding everywhere. So we have beautiful Stonetalon grunts. We have Kurek chilling there. Not sure what Kurek's doing, but hey, how's it going? And then right up here we have, can you take a guess? Yep, that's right. The Night Elves standing defense, saying, no, Horde, you're not getting in here. It's not happening. With the wonderful arrows on both sides in the bodies even. Like, come on. So good. They're just not letting the Horde get through here. Nope. So basically with Ashenvale, Lambie, do you want to put some lore into it? I'll head over to the main area really quick.
So with Ashenvale, and as it alludes to Stonetalon a little bit, we will see the Night Elves taking the fight back to the Horde after they had, let's just say, some not good times at Teldrassil. Yes. They will be on the offensive here. They will be very much looking out for revenge, and to remind the Horde that they are not a race to be easily trifled with.
Thank you guys. Thank you. It took some effort hitting level 3. I had to travel halfway across the world. Anywho, though, don't mind the models. They're kind of weird right now because of the new client. So if I swapped over to my other client, you'd be like, oh, okay, no problem. But yeah, don't mind those models. They're special. Okay, so with our Ashenvale map, we'll see what's called the Forbidden Forest right here. Normally, everything else looks fairly familiar. However, the Forbidden Forest is a giant question mark. This area will be where the majority of PvP goes down, in essence. Animals will be having issues. They're not the happiest animals. And in the center, you're going to meet someone. And I'm not showing you the name. See, I'm so mean. I don't get to let you see the names at all. But you will meet someone here in this forest. On the other side, as many Alliance members could have guessed it, you have another issue going on over here. Where, who are these guys? I'm not even going to ask. Where you have the corruption spreading into Ashenvale. Lots of issues breaking down over here.
For those of you who don't remember, the bottom of Darkshore was a little bit, let's just say there was some old god stuff going on there. And you're going to find that here as well. The corruption is spreading. The Twilight's Hammer cult are very much in full force. And the Faceless Ones are not the best friends to elves.
Yes. And this model is being annoying to me as well. You can tell it's grayed out. You can get, when you're modding WoW, you can tell some things are a bit off. Like this is just gray texture. And so when I look left, it's weird. It's what happens when you reduce a client from like 60 gigs down to 25. You have to polish some things out. But you can see for the majority, we fixed it so far in like a few hours.
Yeah. These are things that we literally got the new client today, some of us, yesterday, some of us. These are things that will be fixed very quickly, relatively quickly, before they go out for testing to anybody. You will not have these issues.
Yes.
I did see someone say earlier it looks a little stuttery. Does it look smooth in game? In game, I also promise you it looks a bit smoother. It is also just stream quality as well, not helping.
Yeah, gotta love Discord for that. Moving forward, I think is kind of the one of the biggest, but yet at the same time it feels weird. The smallest changes. If you want to comment briefly on this part of Ashenvale, you can if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. So very much in RevelationWoW lore, the demons have a foothold on Kalimdor, but it's only a foothold. You will not find demons spread around the entire continent. They are pretty much contained to Azshara, but as we can see here, sometimes they cause some trouble by getting out.
Yes. As for the models being required, we are doing a lot of crazy stuff at the moment. So, for example, Felguards, there are reasons why these models are the quality that they are. So, unfortunately, you are model locked in that regard, at least for now, until maybe we change it in a bit. Moving forward, though, we will go and we will visit the final piece, Azshara. At least for this part until we go back down south to explain a few things going on here. Welcome to Azshara. Now, the skybox itself, I believe, is a bit screwed at the moment, but just imagine the dark, gloomy green that you get from Outlands and Shadow Moon Valley. Instead of this hippity-hoppity, it's Ashenvale, it's Azshara kind of mood. And there's quite a lot of Legion going on here, Lambie. What's going on with that?
Well, as I alluded to, the Legion only really have a foothold on Azeroth as a whole, pretty much, through Azshara. Azshara is the last place they were pushed back to after Warcraft 3. They are very much fortified here. This is going to be an endgame zone for people to explore. There will be story, there will be quests, there will be plenty here to do. The general gist of it is, if you're a lore guy, you're going to love this zone. And especially if you love your dark green buildings.
So something else I'd like to point out, and I kind of don't want to show you guys a little bit too much because it will kind of spoil a little bit more than it should. So I kind of want to go over to the Eastern Kingdom side to show you guys a little bit. However, for the most part, that way we can wrap up some of the areas. So on the bottom side, we have completely knocked out Tanaris. Tanaris is completely different. It is a level 60 zone. It will be only elites. There will be basically no neutral, no comm NPCs there. It's only elites. Uldum is put in. It is looking a bit wonky right now. I don't want to reveal it either, but it is currently in. It's not within the world map though either at this current time. I really want to show you guys this, but I don't want to show you in-game like final tier, level 60 stuff. I want to give you guys some exploration as well, especially since Uldum's working. What's that?
The only thing I would add is that the order in which you do some of these zones, as you may have gathered from Tanaris being level 60, is slightly different. Silithus won't be your 60 zone, that will be Tanaris.
Yes. We will briefly touch on that as well, AZ, in a moment. That's kind of one of the reasons why I want to go over there in just a moment. But yes, as he was saying, Frelis is also touched half of it. I won't go into detail much of it, but it's basically been cut in half in a sense. And finally, I want to show you the last location that we'll be showing on over here on Kalimdor, which is Dustwallow. Dustwallow is getting a name change. It is now going to be called Dustwallow Woods, right, Lambie?
Dustwallow Wilds.
My bad. Dustwallow Wilds. See, he's a lore guy.
So close.
But yet so far. So if you see here, we have a lot of crazy things going on from the sky. Quite a bit. Yeah, one could say that I kind of went all out on trees, but that's not the reasoning. Okay, I swear that's not the reasoning. There's a lot more than meets the eye in this zone. Lambie, would you like to explain a little bit of the lore so that way we don't get tree huggers for life as a hashtag?
Oh yeah, so this is not just a tree zone. This is not just a marsh. This is the home of the Black Dragons, as many of you will know from Classic and as many of you will know from Retail. The Black Dragons kind of camped out here, but they've made a bit of a mortal enemy because they're not the only people who've made this their home. In fact,
anyone guess? Can anyone guess what's their home here in this zone? Who could be their mortal enemies?
Most definitely murlocs. That's my guess.
Right. Quick, Lambie, rewrite the lore for the murlocs. No. Go ahead, Lambie, say it.
So here we will see where the remainder of the ogres in Kalimdor have settled. Now, not all of them, but the ogres that have settled here are ogres that have found the tranquility of these wilds to be refreshing and almost allow their intelligence to come back. These are ogres that are similar to ones that Blizzard showed off during Warlords of Draenor. These guys will be smarter, they will be more intelligent. They have their own sort of infrastructure. They have their own real civilization here, and this is the heart of it.
Yes. But the dragons are not too happy, to say the least.
And as I said, this will not be the only place you'll see ogres, because not all ogres were able to adapt to the life of tranquility. In fact, some of them remain just as brutish and just as slow as they were before. And you will likely encounter some of these in places that you're familiar with.
But now moving on over, let's go over to everyone's favorite area, so to speak.
Undead,
Eastern
undead,
Kingdoms.
undead.
I heard human. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go over to... See, I know that as a GM, I will have issues. So let's just do .teletearisfall. Let's see if that let me. Yes. Okay. I'm totally a cool guy. Okay. So Tirisfal, as you guys know, has been originally the same as it is. However, a lot of you guys have been asking, where does our Necromancer start? What is the starting zone for a Necromancer? Well, we have an answer for that. And I'm going to make sure I don't kill myself by teleporting or going too much. So we're going to show it off a little bit. Welcome to Vandermar Village. Can someone set the weather to 0 for me? But yes, welcome to Vandermar Village. You want to give a little bit of lore here, Lambie? Because it's pretty heavy.
So, this does not take place in the modern day, ladies and gentlemen. What we've got here is a village in Lordaeron set during the events of Warcraft 3 as the Scourge are making their advance. The Scourge are very much in full force. They are, in fact, attacking Lordaeron at this very moment. And so, this village has been sealed off by some of Lordaeron's forces with the help of the Kirin Tor. But this village has a bit of a strange history. As we've seen throughout Warcraft lore, there's a lot of humans who will like to mess around with stupid things. We've had humans summon demons. We have had humans mess with fire. We have had humans mess with arcane. What's to stop them from messing with death? Now, a lot of you will think, yes, we're talking about the Cult of the Damned from Warcraft 3. And while they exist, this is very, very different. In fact, many in this village don't like people toiling with that sort of magic because it reminds them of the Cult of the Damned. And we're going to experience through the story how some of these villagers react, how some of the story unfolds, and there will be an explanation as to why it is only humans and undead that are able to be necromancers.
Yes. And there's Samuel being really happy, living his life. Before, well, happened after, but... Huh. That's quite weird. Anyone have a reference to that guy? 5 seconds, and I'm porting away.
Oh no.
So give it just a moment, because I'm going to be refreshing the stream in case there's any sort of flickering. Gandalf. That was a good one. Just one moment. And then I will set it right back up. We're doing this just so that way in case there's flickering going on or something weird with it. And here we go again. Can you see? I just send a quick message.
We can see.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll give it about 20 more seconds and then we'll head down south a little bit. So is there a lot of troll content / lore, or have they basically been forgotten or merged with orc stuff like in vanilla? Lambie, you want to comment on that?
I literally was just typing a response to that so that you could carry on, but the trolls will very much have their own lore and own story going on. Do not worry about that. I haven't yet had a chance to implement what I've got in mind, but we will be exploring some of the options of troll culture, certain things such as voodoo, such as the lower. We will be getting into those sorts of things, and we will be exploring it a little bit more in detail.
Yes. All right, let's get a move on over here. So everyone has seen, for the majority, and if not, there's some YouTube's videos on it, of our Tirisfal. But we're going to get more so into the zones that we didn't show you or didn't allow you to have access to originally and what we're working on now. So let's head over, I'd say, to Hillsbrad. And keep in mind, I don't know if this client will allow it. I haven't been over here with this client, so we're kind of going into unknown territory at this point here. Do you want to talk? Oh yeah, you're going to see a lot of stuff like this. Do you want to talk about Gilneas, Lambie, or you want me to skip it for now?
So we can skip that one for now, but yes, Gilneas is here. The wall is down, ladies and gentlemen. We saw Worgen in the alpha and beta releases. We saw it in our last trial release. Yeah, the Worgen are very much here. Now, what you might find is their story is slightly adapted, but it is more or less the same as it was with a couple of changes.
Moving on forward. We have, let me try and GMO before I die from creatures. Oh, look. Dalaran Wizards. Welcome to Hillsbrad Foothills. It's a work in progress. NPCs aren't so much here yet because we've been focusing on Calendar, like you guys can see, but the world itself is fairly complete. Do you want to give a little bit of emphasis or details in regards to Hillsbrad over here, Lambie?
Yeah, so Hillsbrad is a zone I am very excited for us to get to. As some of you may know, we have a very different leader of the Forsaken. And the Forsaken, therefore, have a very different culture. They are a lot more human. They are a lot less monstrous. But in Hillsbrad, we might see some division as some of the Forsaken believe that certain types of weapons should be used, while their faction leader may disagree just a little bit. We are going to go into that. We are going to see the ongoing conflict between the humans and Forsaken that is going on this continent. And I can't really wait for you guys to get into that and get to see some of that. It is a great story that I can't wait for.
Yes. Now, that pretty much sums up a little bit of Hillsbrad, but what if we go a little bit further into Hillsbrad? Now, this was done by a wonderful guy who I'll find his name right now, but welcome to Dalaran. Yeah, I may have hit level 4. Shh, don't tell anyone. Okay. This was made by a wonderful guy named Sinister X for his Dalaran, and he's letting us use it for our lore. So, Lambie, can you explain why the hell we're seeing Dalaran here?
Well, this kind of digs into some of the lore differences that you guys will get to explore. But Dalaran was not destroyed during the events of Warcraft 3. There is no need for a dome or a bubble here. Everything is pretty much as it was, although you might find a few less people here than you think. The reason for that is one that we haven't quite gotten to yet because it is endgame, but it will be explained here as well.
Yes. All right, let's move forward. So, as it currently stands, we are planning right now to rework Arathi Highlands. However, Arathi Highlands are a work in progress at the moment, and so you may see some weird stuff going on here with Hillsbrad even, such as this weird jading. So don't worry too much about it, but this is kind of where we're currently working, so to speak. Right now, we have a wonderful world editor who's working on changing up Arathi quite a bit. So for now, we're just going to skip this zone over. I don't even have any of the models in here or anything, so there's no real sneak peeks. However, we do have, if I have it in here, Stormguard. Thanks again to a really wonderful guy, Sinister. Is there something you want to comment as well over here, Lambie, or
No, sorry, I was just answering a question.
no
What was your question?
Is there anything you want to comment on as far as Stormguard?
Well, as we can see, Stormguard's still standing. There's not really a lot to comment on here because the humans are still very much here in force. They are very, very much working towards Lordaeron. Now, you might understand that there's a slight problem here because the Forsaken are kind of living in Lordaeron. So, naturally, there will be a bit more of a conflict there, and this continent will really focus a little bit more, certainly in the northern half, on explaining what is happening between these factions and races. The idea of humans versus orcs was great, but when they are two continents apart, it's a little hard to keep that battle going.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump over into the one zone that I can never remember to save my life. Modur. I probably butchered that pretty badly. Now, you'll notice within the Eastern Kingdoms areas is that it's slightly changed, or at least relatively, but it's nothing to the extremes as you would normally see over on Kalimdor. This is because with such change happening over on Kalimdor, the further away you are from it, in essence, the less of changes are happening across the world, per se. Now, if we look, for example, here in Dunmoch, I say it so weirdly, you'll see it's more so just gone very much swampier in essence. It looks that kind of creepy vibe, and we may or may not, if I can find it, have added in a Shrek reference. May or may not have added in a Shrek reference, but who knows? Yeah. Now, let's see here. There are some secrets to this zone, though, that I will not reveal. But let's take a look here. I actually have to look through the area. You all are familiar with the desert. So the only real zone that I have left to truly show you is, well, two zones, honestly, actually, now that I think about it. Is Stranglethorn. Let's go over to Stranglethorn first. I don't know if Booty Bay is going to crash me. That's honest truth. But let's see, because like I said, I haven't been really around there. But let's see. Okay, I'm in. So Stranglethorn is a zone that we've commented on before. And I believe I showed Undercity. Undercity was seen last time, right, guys? Didn't we release Overcity? I believe we released it in the last release. Lambie, do you remember?
What, Stranglethorn?
No, Overcity. Didn't we really release that last time?
Oh yeah, Overcity was definitely a thing, although I'm not sure why we call it Overcity when it is Lordaeron.
Yes, Lordaeron, I know, but I tease. All right. Let's get into here. Lambie, can you explain a little bit what's going on here with Stranglethorn?
Oh,
And
I absolutely can. So, what we have here is the remnants of Troll Empire. This is where the Gurubashi ultimately settled. This is a massive empire back in the day. And as you can start to see here, it wasn't just the Gurubashi who were here, but it predominantly was. This was their empire. This was the crown, this was the crown jewel of Troll civilization. Now, as far as Zuldazar goes, we might get there in our sort of lore, but for now, the focus is very much on Stranglethorn Vale.
yes. Lots of troll versus troll content, so stop trolling each other. Okay, that's my bad pun for the day. Let's now move forward into the next area. As soon as I'm done testing, if something will work. There you go, Zero. Let me know if that's a good thing. Moving forward, let's go into or do you want me to show off the other troll area as well, Lambie? That's up north.
Up north?
Target's too low, Zero. Do you want me to show off the other troll area that's up north next to Duskwood?
Yeah, we can do.
All right, let's head over there. Let's on my speed by what? 10? Speed 10. Here we are.
Stranglethorn Vale will be the same level as it was. It will be a roughly level 30 to 45 zone. And as you might notice, this isn't quite Gurubashi, this is Drakari. But the Troll Empire was still here. And different parts of Trolls, different clans, different families, whatever you want to call them, carved out a little piece of this for themselves. Now, this is the equivalent of, for the Drakari, what would be Zul'Gurub, which we will be going to. What we have here, though, is just the entrance point for how the trolls originally got out of Stranglethorn Vale.
Yes. So let's go on through this and let's enter one of the scariest zones back in the day if I don't just randomly crash like I just did. One moment, technical difficulties, in World of Warcraft. Yeah, see, now I actually have to log in by doing it that way. So,
And
can someone
and-
teleport me to Darkshire?
And Duskwood isn't the only zone we have to discuss but not show. We actually have another one while you're loading back in, Rex, that I can quickly discuss.
Okay, let me know when someone ported me over to Darkshire.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can all agree Deadwind Pass as a zone may as well just be a goddamn bridge. There is nothing there except for Karazhan, which wasn't introduced until the Burning Crusade. It is a massive, massive waste of space on the world map. And so we are going to do something with it. Now, this will not be the Deadwind Pass that you all know and love or tolerate.
Thank you.
But it certainly will be its own little zone for people to do. And yeah, there is potential for us to add a dungeon or a raid there. That's not been set in stone yet. Things are not dead. They are very much alive. But may be problematic.
Yes. All right, I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment. You should be able to see us coming back up.
It's a bit laggy, but working.
All right. Hopefully it improves a little bit better.
I'd like to point out for people watching, it is the stream lagging, not the game.
Yes. All right, you should be able to get back into it and see it. Welcome to Darkshire. This is quite an interesting difference, to say the least. And in our devblogs, and I would say even in our previous little hinting at this zone, you may have seen a really interesting waterfall. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. Maybe you saw this, huh? Welcome to Darkshire. Now, go for it, Lambie, while I walk through this a little bit.
Now, for those looking at this going, oh no, they made Duskwood bright, it's not dark. Well, let me just tell you, this is a sanctuary. There's a lot of darkness out there.
So what we have to do is we have to then venture out further. So you can take a look over here. I'm staying away from STV because I know there's a model issue over there. But you can see, for example, that there's little towns and whatnot and just little tiny areas and stuff being built up and everything's just great. And then you see this and something off in the distance. Something happened here. Lambie, can you explain a little bit more what this is? Is this supposed to be Scourge or what happened here?
Once you start flying, I can explain.
Okay, let's do that then. Oh, that's right, my guy can't fly. Whee!
So we can see here remnants of where the Alliance used to be. Now, the problem here is that the Scourge in Duskwood are a little bit more active, shall we say. These guys have been on an absolute rampage to the point where the humans kind of had their bridge destroyed. And let's just say, all that green, that used to be water. The Scourge can't swim. And once they hit water, their body decomposes. And over time, it has just turned that lake into a giant green death trap.
Yes. Quite a bit has gone on here, to say the least. And quite a lot of unfortunate stories have been said here. So if you'll see that the humans kind of got afraid, so they started building up into the trees to protect themselves rather than what they originally were doing. This is the transition. I'm kind of running through this area, but I wanted to show you guys on the side of Westwood, Westfall. This is the introduction on this side over here. So this from Westfall, this is the other side.
Well, just to answer a question in the chat, what's to keep it from spinning into Westfall or Elwyn? Well, what stops it spinning into Elwyn is that lovely little river that we have right there. No, kidding. There will be... You will find, which wasn't previously in the beta, probably some guards that are around Elwyn on the south side, trying to keep that protected. And I can't imagine that the guy in charge of Westfall is quite happy just leaving his border unprotected.
Yes, thank you. So we have a lot of crazy stuff going on over here. A lot of destruction, a lot of chaos, and lots of rubble. I can speak still, I promise. Chaos and oof. It seems that this area got kind of messed up quite a bit with the graveyard. Now there's not NPCs in here yet because we recently just finished this off, but you can see you can get kind of lost, if you will, in Duskwood. But fear not, there's some small areas here and there, as well as some really creepy areas such as this farm. Leveling for now is quite fast because we are on a tester realm, so we're kind of steaming through stuff in order to test things correctly. However, I do want to also point out the small area. There's an emphasis on exploration in our zones that we really want to show. So, for example, we showed you Darkshire. There's a hidden path here for humans right here. I'm only going to show this one part towards kind of our area, kind of like how I showed you in the beginning with our caves. There's a hidden path here that on the side that if you go through, you'll meet a hidden little town of people who are just trying to live and build up a little bit. Just a little area, completely secluded from everyone else. But yeah, so on the other side, however, of the Duskwood, you have a kind of difference. So when you jump over between the water, you'll see that everything's a lot more nature-like. The transition over from Elwyn into Duskwood is actually not that bad. Don't mind the floating orb. You miners can get it. I'm sure you can somehow with mass teleport or something.
Hey, Rogues did great jobs with grappling hooks during the last testing period, so I'm sure they can manage it again.
So you'll see that the transition over is actually not that bad. Yeah, I agree on a better graphic with Poison Lake. We'll have to look into that for sure. But the transitioning is not that bad, or if you will, on this side. But of course, with the Westfall side, given the river, it is quite a difference. Anyways, though, as far as zones, that's basically what we have for you for now to kind of show you publicly. As far as art-wise and the GMs who have been working really hard to get that sort of thing down. Now we have to kind of show you the other side of things.
Just going back, correct? You missed out the middle.
Of what?
Duskwood.
I did a little bit.
I know he did this intentionally, people, so I am calling it out.
So go ahead.
As we all know, the center of Duskwood used to contain this nice little grove where...
What was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was slightly up to... It's up inside, correct? In the mountains, remember? Yeah, I'm just reminding you. But we had this nice little zone. Not much was going on with it. No one really used it for anything. It was just a world boss. But it didn't really have any sense of belonging to it. It didn't really have any story behind it. And yeah, there were a few problems there that I wasn't a big fan of. But oh my god, things are going wrong here very, very quickly.
Yeah, there's quite a problem brewing here.
Turns out having portals that can access the Emerald Dream aren't always a good idea.
Not always. Lambie, are we going to allow this portal to be active, or are we going to keep it shut down like this?
Oh, they would have shut that down. I know I would have done. This isn't a horror film. You don't do laps of your house while the bad guy's chasing you. You run out the front door. These guys shut that portal and did the smart thing.
That's a pretty good idea to say. All right, well, why don't we chill in Darkshore to show off some of our new systems and getting things going in that regard and go from there. So let's start off a bit. Zio, if you can message me some IDs of racial abilities, I'd love to at least show some of the tooltips, so to speak, even if we can't get them properly in right now. So one of the things that I'm going to get into right now to go with what I just said is let's talk about the UI. We have implemented the collections tab right here. Now, some of these, I'm not going to click on them, but you can take my word for it. Crash me at the moment. Now, with the UI, you can find all your mounts right here. These mounts are officially now cross-character. Now, the same goes with your companions as well. So you can go on your alt and you can use it right away. The issue that we had here is asking ourselves, how are we going to make it so that way you can't abuse mounts on a alt? In order to do this, we have implemented a sort of system along with our revelation system that you have to be a certain level requirement, which makes sense at first. However, all mounts in WoW don't have a level requirement. On the training itself has a level requirement, but after you learn the spell and you have a UI like this, you can just use it right away. So what we've done is we've made it so that way all spells from beginning to end, Crusader Strikes, your Fireball, everything have a level requirement. So, for example, now you're able to use your mounts cross character once you reach the required level. So we don't see mounts using 100% speed between level 1 to 9 in a BG. Well, 10 to 19, but still. That's one of the few things. The other thing is, don't worry about the heirlooms tab. We're not going to discuss heirlooms right now, but we're going to go into appearances. The other thing is transmog. If someone can port on me and give me some gear, I'll show it off a little bit. Transmog has been a really big question. Are we going to do transmog? Are we not? What's going on here? We're going to do it. There are some minor complications. Thank you, Benno. There are some minor complications with it, but it is nevertheless in the game itself right now. At the moment, there is currently no way for players to log in yet because we are in testing currently. As we can see, though, the lovely GMs are starting to spur around. I should have said one, but I did it to myself. So, anyways, so you have transmog. If someone can grab me some loot really quick, then I can show it. Thank you so much. Can you grab me another set? You'll see at the bottom left, it says added to your collection constantly. And then we'll see, I'll implement more gear here and voila. Can someone switch out my weapon really quick, please? Thank you guys so much. Once we have the transmog on, you'll see that within the collections tab, now we have it. Not only do we have it, it is fully animated. So if there is any sort of animation that goes with your gear, you will be able to see it right away. There are some issues, like you see, this item cannot be equipped at the moment, but it is still there. Then the question is, well, then how do you transmog at the moment? You need to wear it to learn it. Yes. Now, the next part is the transmog itself. You're going to be able to go up to a GM and you're going to be able to basically say a GM. You're going to go up to a NPC and you're going to be able to change out your gear right away. Now, almost immediately, like you could see, it swapped out my weapon piece. So now I can look again and it's on my side. If I want to do it, say, with a different piece on maybe, let's say, for example, the head, I'm using this crown. I swap to here. We can see a live preview. Anything we want, we swap in. Immediately it changes. So you're basically able to customize your character to how you want, in a way, whenever you want. And one of the things I find really important to do with this is the funding aspect. A lot of servers, not naming any, hide transmog behind a pay-to-win window. Anything you collect in this game, in-game, you're going to be able to create in transmog for free. It's going to be based off of gold. 100% gold only or silver, and then you can transmog. The talents are going to be based off of gold in that way. The player housing is going to be based off of gold. The only thing that would say be in the store itself is external parts. Maybe say someone created fancy art that wants to be in the game and they're allowing us to put it in the store, so be it. However, we're trying to keep everything that you can do and have fun in this world not pay to win, and just like a normal WoW server. Just that way you can do whatever you want. That means player housing is not restricted to having the biggest wallet. It's only restricted to having the biggest wallet in the game. Your design options are basically all the way only within the game itself. Now, we may implement something such as, say, not switching paintings with apples, and we implement the apple part of the painting into our shop that you normally can't get at all in game, but anything in game is going to be here, so you're not going to have to worry about anything in that regard. We're going to watch very carefully as well, making sure that there's no creepy people trying to sell you gold or anything like that. Because of how custom our server is as well, we're kind of happy in regards to nodes and whatnot. It's going to be a lot harder to script. So they're going to have to create personalized scripts for this. We don't allow multi-boxing, but we do allow alts, as you can see. But anyways, we want really this to be as enjoyable as your first experience with World of Warcraft, but in a different way. Now, moving on is the other part. Well, oh god, Zeo's mass teleporting everyone. Later, guys. So we really good thing we were in a party. So we really want to implement this other part where druids can change how they want to look as well. And this goes into our UI. And this is kind of a work in progress at the moment, so bear with us here as it looks weird. You're going to be able to go up to a barber and tell the barber, I need to clip some things off. And change your UI or change your form. So you can go into a wolf form as a cat. You can say maybe go into a whale as aquatic. You're able to basically change as long as we have the choice for you through this method. Now, as far as achieving these different abilities, like these colors and these looks, we haven't quite figured it out yet in that regard. But one thing's for sure, we don't want it to be, once again, pay to win. So it's going to be achievable in the game, perhaps through a druid questline or something in that nature. But there's not much more I can really show you because I don't have any flight forms at the moment or anything right here, and I have to still implement within the database. But there's quite a bit that you're going to be able to populate. So that's for the most part how those two UIs work. We've also implemented at the moment a revelation system. And you guys remember the original revelation system, and it kind of got a little bit complicated, especially with folks losing their gear, having issues with it, and then losing their experience rate and all those complications. I think we got over 200-300 different tickets at the time. Well, this is our new UI, and I'm going to explain to you how this works a little bit. So welcome to the new UI. Upon reaching level 12, if I did a level and gave myself some level, you'll see it unlocks. This is fully animated and meant to be towards the Blizz-like quality that you normally see in standard retail, because our goal is to try to be as retail quality as possible. Each individual time you hit 12 levels, just like last time, you're going to gain an award. At the time, I don't think I have specific awards in, but let's see if I possibly do. So level 12 didn't have much. Let's go to level 24. Do I have anything in here? No, I don't. But you'll see each time it locks. Then level 36. I'll go into here. Wait for it. 36. I don't. Then level 48. You go into it. Do you want to collect? Yes. I don't. As you can see, it's quite empty right now, but we plan on populating it. And then finally, you have the big level 60 reward. So when you hit this button, what's going to end up happening, untested, in this client, but in the other client it does work, you're going to reset your level. Your gear is going to immediately go back to 1. As in, your gear is going to go into either your bank, into your mail, or into your inventory. Primarily, we're making it into inventory first, and then the rest goes into mail. However, it will fully unequip you. And all the quests that you originally did, excluding specific ones, we're looking at you, special quest lines, will be reset. So if I hit right here and I wanted to say yes, then it would reset me. Everything would be dandy. We'd be moving forward. However, I have it locked for now. Now, when you reset, your spells will still be there. You will have all the original spells that you learned there inside of your spell book. However, this goes back into when I was testing spells right here. If you're not high enough level, it will say the target is too low level. So whatever you're trying to do, you're not able to cast it. So if you're trying to cast a level 3 firebolt, but you're level 1, you're not going to be able to do it. Have a great day, Warden. This is one of the many ways that we've gone on to improve our spells and making sure that things of that nature couldn't happen, so to speak. However, from my understanding, as far as I can remember, that's what we have done as far as the UI. As far as the rewards from it, it's going to be cosmetic rewards that you can receive, perhaps even possibly rewards that will give you stuff later down the line. But for the time being, cosmetic that you can't normally achieve in game. And especially the level 60 reward. The level 60 reward is going to be by far the biggest reward that you can get. But you have to reset in order to get it. And of course, you can show off with, hey, look at me, I'm so pretty, which is great. It's just a way to be able to say, hey, I want to re-level, or I want to check out this way of leveling and have fun without losing all my stuff, or playing. Maybe you have a friend and you want to play with them as well. This is a way for you to start from scratch, kind of, and also level up with them. We will implement over time. The more you do it, it kind of slower and slower progression rate. But in essence, it's kind of going into our motto, or the idea at the very end, where what happens when you hit level 60? There will be a limit to how many times you can reset in the end, but it will be something ridiculous. So I don't see players hitting it right off the bat, but it will take quite a lot of time. Keep in mind, we have to come up with the 5 rewards every reset, so it's going to become kind of complicated. But anyways, next we're going to go into the interesting stage as far as I'm trying to think here of what I want to show, because we have so much that we're going to do here. Let me try showing off some of our abilities. I don't know if they're going to work. We're going to try it here. But this is one of our new racials, Moment of Silence. It's a 3-minute. Recite a brief prayer for 2 seconds, causing the area beneath you to become a zone of silence for 8 seconds. Now, that might sound ridiculous. However, it is only in the area. It seems as well that we're going to be a little bit stuck in regards to showing off the spells. However, Zio can show on his test bench. Zio, if you can ask for permissions to speak, so that way we can put it up here, and then you can share your screen briefly. Only showing off the racials for now, just a few of them.
But before...
Yeah, let's get that going as well. It might take Zio a minute to get his test bench up and going, but like I said, we just implemented the level requirement, so that's why some of these are a bit locked down. Zio, do you already have your test bench running, or do you need a few moments?
Yeah, I've got it up.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead and share your screen, and then I will stop sharing mine, so then we can go through some abilities. And feel free to do some explanation as you go through them. I think you have to reshare, though.
All right. I think I've
There
got
we
it
go.
up.
We can see now.
All right.
Yep.
How much do you want me to show off, and how much do you want to keep? Quiet.
Let's start off with the abilities first, and just pick about 5 racials for now. 5 that you think are really interesting.
All right. Yeah, I've got a bunch of different new mounts and racials and everything. Some interesting ones. Well, I mean, we can go start with your favorite if you want.
Yeah, let's start off with that one. This
All
one's
right.
my fun one.
Yeah, this is Rex's favorite. He calls it Meep Meep, and it literally is a 870% for 2 seconds sprint. It's a 2 second sprint, so it doesn't last long, but you go really fast. So, like for instance, we could just start right here, and you literally go super fast. That's. I mean, we have all kinds of racials. We got like a series of inherited racials. Like it's basically the theme is like you inherited some sort of heirloom from a mentor or something. So like you have like a firebolt wand or a dagger or a holy tome for healing, stuff like that. I think this is another one of yours, Rect. You wanted slap juice. This is like an AoE heal
For
that
the
you throw.
record, really quick, I want to state that as well. In the case of Meep Meep, we would disable it on Battlegrounds. There are some racials that we do deem that are a little bit too strong that we think wouldn't be usable for certain things. So we are taking into care of that. And Meep Meep was just, so to speak, my fun one. I thought, what if we do
Yeah.
the rope? So
It would likely probably drop the flag, most likely. Yeah, we got little things like you can pick up like a version of a vanish, essentially. Little 5 second stealth effect with a vanish effect. And a little extra speed, personal smoke bomb. We've got this one, never skip leg day. This one essentially every minute you can use it, and the buff lasts for 5 minutes, giving you a stacking 4% move speed, swim speed, and mount speed, stacking up to 5 times. So you can get up to 20 after you've cast it enough times, and it's essentially just a short distance leap, kind of like a really short heroic leap. You can use that for some of those. I don't know if everybody was here for the jump puzzles we were implementing in some of the caves around the areas, but that is one thing that we put in a couple areas is some little jump puzzles here and there. So this would be a little shortcut for some people that take this racial. And let's see, we got a couple other ones. We got Heal of Leonidas, which I mean you can pretty much imagine what that is. But let me go over here and I got another client open here. I'm just gonna go ahead and kick them. You just knock somebody away, and they take a little bit of damage. True, you can go punt somebody.
Gnome punting. New sport coming here soon.
Yep. And let's see what else. We got... Somebody saw this already. Command Steam Tank. This probably won't be a racial. Do you want to talk about the profession stuff?
yeah, we're going to get into that in a little bit after we show off some of the mount concepts.
Okay, sure. Let me go get rid of
show
that.
off the little factory one as well while we're at it.
Oh, right. Yeah. That one also could be a profession one, but we're not sure on that one yet. But essentially, it's Pocket Factory, which people might recognize from Warcraft 3. You essentially drop a little factory, you start spawning little robots that help you to fight for a bit. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. And when you stay near the factory, you get this. Everybody in the raid gets a 10% damage reduction buff while the factory lasts. If they're near close enough to it, they get the aura.
All right. Thank you so much, Zero. So one of the things that we really wanted to implement as well is overall changing how WoW kind of was in the sense of mounts. So we're doing some sort of test where basically we're changing how mounts work in a way. We kind of want them to have some sort of importance. So we have done a little bit of changes. For now, we're going to implement them in regards to rewards at the end. I believe we have it set towards PvP rewards at the moment. But in the future, depending on feedback of you guys, we might change it on what you guys say. Go ahead and show some off really quick, Theo. Let's try to jump through this part, so to speak.
Sure. We basically have split it into, for the new mounts at least, mount prefixes is essentially how you can think of it. We got new prefixes for each faction, where you can pick up a specialty Stormwind faction or Orgrimmar faction, like you were saying. If you get your rep up with those, or possibly through PvP and rep, some combination, you can pick up, for instance, the Undead and Humans will have Nimble and Racing variants of their horses. which essentially just means they're faster, but you take more damage while you're on it. So for instance, the Swift Racing Palomino, you're at 120% move speed, but you take 20% more damage while mounted. Things like that. There's different prefixes. Night Elves, let's see, I think it's you're slightly slower than a normal mount at that level, but you can track humanoids. Or in the epic version, you're a bit slower than that. Still use 10% speed over the normal version, but you can track humanoids and stealth detection. And there's different things like that. This one's particularly fun. The violent ones and the brutal ones for rams and raptors is basically every 30 seconds it'll do a pulsing AoE effect. So that's sort of a way that you could do a cavalry charge in a way. You could have multiple people on violent and brutal mounts in like AV and charge through the enemy group if you have it timed correctly and do AoE pulse damage as you're riding through on your mounts. There's let's see what else we got. Gliding and sailing, which essentially is slow fall and water walking. Slow fall and water walking is sailing. Slow fall only is gliding. Oh, there's the thing going off. And then once it does it for the first time, you have a countdown on your buff here, so you can see when the next trample is coming. And then for the Battle Elec and Great War Elec, and same for the Kodos, those are basically you're slightly slower, but you take reduced damage, so you can use it as a way to break through a blockade and battlegrounds and stuff like that. That's for the standard ones. We also have a new series of mounts called lumbering mounts, which essentially the thing that qualifies a mount as being a lumbering mount is that it can be used in combat, but it's a much slower mount than usual, and the cast time is much longer, but you can cast it while in combat. So for the instance, the basic standard outdoor ones would be these lumbering draft horse and lumbering aged wolf. And you can essentially just mount up while in combat, and this can be used indoors as well. So you can take it into caves in the outdoors. You can you can go into the Stormwind auction house with this, just everything like that.
Yeah. So the original idea was to put it into the base mounts right off the bat, but then we basically believe that if we did that, we might be giving handicaps to certain races versus bonuses to others, and so we're kind of going more towards the late game, so to speak, when it comes to mounts. Go ahead and show off the. Well, I believe we showed off.
Wait, we do have a few lumbering ones that are dungeon specific, so you'll have to unlock these for different selections of dungeons. For instance, this cave bear can't be used outside. It says wrong zone, but if I go to Dead Mines as one of the cave dungeons it can be used in, you can use your lumbering cave bear inside of Dead Mines, and you can use it in combat as well. So you can get up on your bear and you could ride through the Dead Mines, or you could get on your chicken and go through different or rooster and go through different urban oriented dungeons essentially. And the lumbering ruins tortoise is going to be used in different types of ruins oriented dungeons. And as for this, we've got a couple extra, essentially a BWL mount and a molten core mount that are essentially the variants of the crystal mounts or the battle tank mounts from AQ40 that can only be used in those raids. It's essentially just a carbon copy but with a different model.
Thank you so much, Theo. So those are what we're working on for the racials. Those are also what we're working on for the mounts. Now we're going to get into the really interesting portion to where we start talking more so about the future and how we're going to basically change Revelation WoW compared to the standard WoW that you normally see and is today. And this is something I wanted to have Zio show you guys as well while he's sharing. If you've played Skyrim, you're familiar with what is to be called organizations or sub-factions, where you can be a mercenary, you can be a part of the Dark Brotherhood, but at the same point, you can also be for the Stormcloaks, and you can be for the Legion, or whatever they're called over there, but be part of them as well. What we're doing is we're implementing these organizations as well. So, for example, we're going to have a mercenary organization where you might have to put a bounty on someone, and Dark Brotherhood could possibly claim that bounty. Or you have a hunting one where you have to kill a certain animal that spawns around the world, but only you will get the mega bonus if you find it. It's a hunter's guild, or so on and so forth. And within these, we're going to basically make Horde versus Alliance in some of them. And if you go into certain areas, you may be affected by it. If you guys play the last beta or the last live, you'll notice that sometimes NPCs will ambush you. You'll be walking along the road and you'll be attacked. Your organization matters because one of the things we want to do to the talent tree is we want to make it to where there's a bunch of new talents and a bunch of new spells and lots of crazy stuff. We're going to implement organization abilities, and these organizations are going to be locked to your character. You can't swap in and out. Once you pick one, you're stuck to it, which means you're going to have organization abilities that are in a completely new spell tab. So we already have some predefined ones, and one of them, if you can give a little bit of lore to Soshi. You're there, right, Soshi, I presume?
I am here, yes.
Perfect. Can you give a little bit of lore background to the Cavalier version?
The Cavalier one?
Yes.
That is the... Hold on.
You're a little bit quiet too, by the way.
Am I? Sorry.
Just a little bit.
Is that a little better?
Much better.
Okay. I'm bringing up my documentations right now.
No problem. Sorry, I put you on the spot. In the meantime, though, while Soshi explains it, if you can show off, Zio, the Cavalier ability, that would really rock while we
Oh,
go
right.
in.
So yeah, this isn't finished or anything, but this is an ability called Cavalry Strike. Essentially, this is oriented more towards paladins, warriors, rogues, hunters, maybe. It's more just for melee classes, more so because it's benefits off of your melee weapon damage. Essentially, what this is going to do is you're going to be able to joust with it, and you can actually just do full combat with it and just spam it as a normal ability while mounted. So, for instance, I can joust this boar right here, and I'll gain a stack of cavalry charge right here after I use Cavalry Strike. And this every stack gives me 10% more damage with Cavalry Strike, and increases my mount speed by 2%, and gives you resistance to polymorph, so you can't be dismounted as easily.
Keep in
So-
mind, however, if you use your standard mount, if you use your standard abilities, you will still be dismounted 100%. You're only able to use your cavalry abilities on an animal to not be dismounted.
Right, and I actually made it so that the recently jousted buff, essentially what this does is it rewards you for jousting, literally, like going past hitting them once every 10 seconds, and your damage will be higher if you do that. Although you could do more DPS by just sitting there and just hitting them repeatedly with Cavalry Strike. You'll just keep refreshing this debuff. This debuff, essentially, it makes it so that your trample damage, if you have one of these violent or brutal mounts, it doesn't get affected by this debuff, but otherwise, you're doing less damage until you get your strikes all the way stacked up, then you're doing basically normal attack damage. If you want to sit there and spam. Otherwise, what you can do if you want to do double damage is you can just joust, like I was saying, because at that point you're doing 200% increased or 200% regular damage, and as long as you only hit every 10 seconds, you're essentially jousting.
Getting into too much math now, but
Right? Yeah, true.
Exactly though. So when you pick Cavalier, you will gain access to a set of spells over time that will allow you to basically be a Cavalier. Or we may have something for, say, magic that's specifically just for casters if you go down that path. You will be alerted which one is which and kind of get a sense for what is what. But Soshi, do you have that information pulled up, for example?
I do.
Fantastic. Go ahead and put some information as in regard to the Cavalier side of things.
Okay, so right now they are named the Outriders. Basically, once you accomplish a few things in game, you will be given access to an NPC that will give you a quest that will start you down the path of joining the Outriders. This is basically the system we're going to implement for all the organizations. Now, you will get access to this quest. You'll be able to basically be introduced to the organization, and then at a certain point, it will warn you. Past this point, you are part of this organization. So that's your basically, like, if you go forward from that point, you are part of that organization, and like Rex said earlier, you cannot change. But if you do the correct things in game to get access to multiple of them, you can do like their starter quests just to see like which one you want to get a feel for. As far as the Outriders, they are like the Trailblazers, they are the scouts for the group, they are the cavalry, and whatnot. They fill various different roles in the thing, and like Zio was showing here, the ability he's using right now, you will only get access to if you are an Outrider. No other organization will have access to that ability. Also, with most of the organizations, you will also get access to daily quests. You will get access to transmogs that you will only get from that organization.
No.
Stuff like that. I don't want to give out too much. I don't know how much you want me to reveal.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And once again, no, the level 60 reset will not reset your faction, nor the quests within it. And this goes into the next part. This is more so towards the future of what we're implementing as well, like we currently are. This is kind of where I get out a pen and paper and basically tell you guys, all right, look at me. 1 second, my timer just came up. All right, there we go. Sorry, personal stuff. So I'm gonna pull up a paint, and I'm gonna pull up some documents, and you guys get to laugh your rears off while I explain to you my madness and some things. Zio, if you could stop sharing for now while I go
Sure.
semi-crazy.
Yep, I'm
Thank you
ending
so
it.
much. I'm gonna show you all some changes in regards to the professions that are currently being worked on, and I'm gonna be very careful because I know that some people will find, for example, the URL and then trade it and everything else and send it and then find it and then grab everything fast. So I'm just gonna quickly snip it and find it within Paint. Here we are. All right, so we're gonna go into Paint here. This is where things get kind of crazy, so bear with me, please. But this is towards the end, so don't worry. We're going to be redoing a lot of the professions currently. If you guys can see right now, we have mini documents. This is a screenshot of just one of them, where we've gone on and grabbed all the original ores of WoW and put them into a document, as well as implemented some new kinds of ores. And you'll see, for example, Palladium, Orcalium. Some of these kind of don't ring a bell, maybe Salt Chunk. That's okay. That's because they're completely new. They're part of our new profession system that is a work in progress that we're trying to get in. And with the way this works, kind of goes into our player housing, to which and I'm going to show as a kind of grand finale, if you will, but it's not in the completed phase. It's still work in progress. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to start you off. I'm making sure it works right. We're going to start you off with your base profession. So let's say, for example, you wanted to go into blacksmithing. So you're going to do your standard blacksmithing. Wonderful choice. And from there, once you get your base, your standard, trade skill on, say, maybe I can craft a standard pickaxe or something, whatever, completely normal. I'm a herbalist, bear with me. Probably should pick herbalism, but whatever. Once you pick all that stuff and you get, say, maybe 75 out of 75 or 150 out of 150 or 225, so on, you're going to have 3 different categories you can choose from. You're going to have, say, for blacksmithing, this is proof of concept example. And here's where I write. You're going to have a player housing section. You're going to have a weapons, and you're going to have an armor. Now, you're going to have to pick a specialization here. You're going to have one of the 3. If you go down armor, you'll be able to not only craft the basic standard stuff, but you'll be able to go into more specific armor. So you won't be able to make a lot of weapons like you would over here. And with player housing, you won't be able to make almost anything with player housing, just the raw basics. But once you pick, similar to, say, original classic WoW on picking tailoring and going down a specific field, or in Wrath where you pick versus alchemy versus elixirs and things of that nature, you're going to have a final option here. You're going to have a choice. Am I going to make my guild hate me and be selfish? Or am I going to make my guild love me but be pointless? No, I'm kidding. You're going to have selfish versus community. So if you go down the selfish route, you're going to be able to make raid quality gear. Now, I know that sounds crazy. We're going to ask for selfish. You're going to go down the quality that you are basically, you don't even need a raid, if you will. You already have great gear. But this gear is going to take you months This is the kind of gear where you have, say, 15 different tiers that you have to constantly grind and push for it. So you don't no longer have to go into the raiding. You don't have to worry about that aspect of the game anymore. You can just herb and have fun. But the issue now is you can't do any sort of marketing, because one thing I didn't mention is when you pick down this route, you're locked forever on your character on this route. There's no going back. You can't jump and swap over to weapons. You can't swap over to player housing. You are stuck on this character. So everything here for that super high quality is soulbound. It's soulbound entirely. So you can go down this route. You can max out your gear 100%. You can spend months on it and have crazy fun stuff, especially when it comes like engineering and stuff of that nature. Or you can go down the other route, which is buy on equip or BOE gear. So right here, you'll have your BOE, or we'll just say B. This gear you can sell on the auction house 100%. It's everything is for your buddies. You can use it, have at it. It might even be where it's a consumable that lasts a certain amount of time. But in this case, with armor, it's just BOE, if you will. The same goes, for example, with your weapons. You get to choose armor, weapons, or player housing. You get to pick either or. The same will go for player housing. We're going to implement crazy stuff. For example, player housing, where we're going to make it so that way you have to get the lumber, you have to get the nails, you have to talk to a blacksmith or a guy on the auction house in order to get your nails, you have to go to a tailor to get the fabric for your beds, you have to get all these individual pieces to make your house great. Now, if you go down the selfish route, because you're removing the armor of bonuses you would get, you're removing the weapons. Let's say that you were, and we're still deciding if it's going to be engineer or what. If you're in the player housing route, you're basically able to make a mansion for yourself. This is where you're going to be able to shine and say, look at me, I made this. This is where you would pick it in the player housing, the selfish route. If you go down the BOE route, then you can basically help people with building their houses and make a huge profit off of it. The catch is all these items that are not BOE require not only for you to have the level within blacksmithing. So don't think you can just swap to herbalism after you cap out blacksmithing. You need the blacksmithing level, and you also need to, of course, be blacksmithing. But hey, so we're watching carefully in this regard. So this goes into the next portion where, well, what is in-game? What can I do at in-game? The world itself is going to have PvP zones, are specifically PvP based. You may, for example, have a zone where you have vendors that are giving you cool stuff, but you have tokens. Think Anima and Shadowlands, but better, right? But if you die in that area, you lose that said anima or tokens, and it's given to the other player in those specific regions. These regions are locked off. So it's not like you are going to have to go there in a sense, but we're implementing those sort of things. So you have your PvP aspect. Yeah, see, beautiful writing. You have your PvP aspect. You're going to have your organizations, which basically pull you into both PvE and PvP and PvE, because you have organizations that are PvE dedicated, organizations that are PvP dedicated, and you're going to be able to hunt different mobs and creatures that are within the world, scan them, do all kinds of crazy stuff. Do your dungeons, do your raids, go on exploration. And one of the things that I just noticed is both PvE, so we're just going to squat that off and make that an E, is PvE is normally defined as the care bearer's life, and PvP is normally defined as the tryhards or the guys who want to ruin your day. We really want to make it to where you can do anything you want at in-game with your friends, no matter what the size is. And that's why we're implementing the world bosses and the world raids, to where you can maybe group up with another guild and raid with 100 people, raid with 150, raid with 200, however amount it might be, to take down a world boss and take him out, basically. So for the in-game, we want to kind of infuse it to, you can do anything you want. Any path will lead you to your destination, basically. on maxing out that character. Every single character is a different journey. So your professions are locked to your account. Your organizations locked to your account. Characters, I mean, I apologize. So it's locked to your characters. So each individual time you play, you might have a different sort of pathing or storyline. And hey, don't forget as well that you can reset your level at any point in time. So we're not going to be per se alt friendly, but at the same point in time, it's kind of good because I feel personally, being a gamer, that WoW became World of Alts instead of World of Warcraft. I remember back playing original WoW or even classic to this day that's out now. Your main was your main. That was who you were. If your name was Soshi, your name was Soshi. And people knew you by that in the community. And that's kind of what we want to implement with our player housing and all these different profession swaps and things of that nature. We're not going to get rid of the auction house per se, but we want to have that sort of interaction going on. So I'm going to share over quickly to head on over to Outlands really quick. And I'm going to port over, and then we're going to show .tele Outland. We're going to show off the final bit and kind of like the cherry on top. It's a work in progress. We're working on the UI right now. I'm heading over there, by the way, just in case you're wondering, and setting some things up to show. There's going to be 2 types of player housing. And the second type is currently being worked on as we speak by one of our wonderful devs. But the first type is the world housing. A lot of you guys during the testing phases saw that we were making it so that way, oh, hey, I'm going to also share my screen here again to the game itself. A lot of you guys saw that we were originally working on pH. You would see all the time in our world, pH. Nearly every single zone is going to have an ability for you to place your housing down. You can place a house there in every zone, but I don't want to make it phasing hell. So because of that, all the slots in the world itself are limited. So some slots or some areas might be bigger, some might be small. Within WoW, we have a ability to basically do it based off of area ID. So we're gonna basically do it similar to a piece of paper. I'm gonna kind of explain it via paint really quickly here before I jump back into the game. So you're gonna have a predefined area. That's the red. You're going to be able to place a plot here that may be super small, but your neighbor's plot might be like this big. Or, for example, you might have a plot that's just in between one or 2 big guys here. Any way you put it, thank you, sweetheart. Any way you put it, you're going to be able to fill up this area. So whoever claims the most land really fast, if you have a ton of gold, you can claim the whole plot for yourself. But here's the issue. The player housing within the world itself is only for the rich. So I'm going to share my screen here. This is not so much a thing, but what we're going to do at the time is, thank you, sweetheart. I'll wait till
You're
after
welcome, buddy.
Keep going. What was that? Oh.
We're just telling you,
Don't
you're
worry, buddy.
welcome. You're
I'm
welcome,
getting my
Greg.
dinner. My fiance made us pizza, so that's why I have to also get going here and wrap this up. She's being a sweetheart. But anyways, so going through this, you're going to have a sword tool, and this is going to have a really fancy UI and everything else, but we're going to add this in. It's called House Controller. And when you have this item, you're going to get it from, say, possibly a real estate agent, the feisty goblins who are really annoying. You're going to get a house controller right here, and it's going to pop up. Hey there, you currently don't have any house because you're homeless, so it sucks to be you. No, it says you don't own a house and you are not a member of any house. Now, when you have this, you can say, I want to purchase this land. And it'll say you need to move blah, blah, blah away because this is already owned by a different player. So then you have to move. You need to move 34 away. So you can, in fact, have parameters around your houses to where finally, oh, look, now I can put my house here. So there's parameters even. Gotta love that, right? But don't worry, we'll make the parameters fairly small so you can be close buddies and not wall off your neighbor if you get them mad. you know, building squares around them. And basically it says calculate your size. Each piece is going to cost you a gold 50. We're going to change this over time, but basically it's going to say calculate. So you can have up to a maximum of 3,000. Note that this might watch, I'm cheating here. Look at that. Oh my god, I just made so much money. Note that this may change over time, but you're going to calculate how many square yards you want to do here. So we're going to say 200. Once we put in 200, it says, oh yes, you don't have any. Let's go click confirm. We'll try 200 again. And then here we are. Zone, Hellfire, map, Outland. By the way, Outland is kind of our test bench, so don't mind random nonsense or the boars are kind of big and might snort me. His name is Steve. Anyways, so once you see here, I'll tell you the total price for the small area is 300 gold. You're going to be able to say purchase and hit yes. And then I forget what this part was again. So let's see again. Press accept to confirm. Press accept. Let's see here. Enter the name of the house. That's right. See, I have to read. We're going to name it Steve's Home. All right. Now we own the house or the land, so to speak. So now that we own the land, it's like, well, what do we do? Well, we need to see our perimeter. If you're on a steep slope like this, you might have issues with our perimeter. However, we've tried to make it as best we can. So it pops up around the terrain. Within this square is your property. You own this. You can do whatever you want with it inside of it. You can place down chairs. You can place down a house. You can even just place down an outhouse if you want. Whatever you want. This is completely for you. Unfortunately, I really wanted to show you guys placing down a chair and things of that nature. However, I wasn't able to do it due to the level issue, but I do want to just briefly show you how it's going to work in essence. So let me quickly find here in one of the documents I have here, just to show you guys how you would go about placing a item. Learn, do. Oh, oops. Maybe I did it wrong. That learn, do. I will get this, I promise. Bear with me. I will get this. Maybe it's not this one. Maybe it's the other one that I can try here really quick. Let me see. One moment. I will get this. Yeah, I know. Let me see here. Ah, here it is. Sorry about that. There's so many IDs that it gets kind of a bit crazy. But anyways, back to what we were doing. So once you get an item, like let's say, for example, a wonderful chair, and you're trying to place something down. This is the same way you're going to be popping down your house. You're going to go here. You're going to right click. It's going to be an item in your inventory to start out though. So it's going to be an item that you learn. But just so everyone understands a little bit of WoW modding, every item that has a spell attached is actually a spell that's an item. It's kind of weird. But anyways, just like how it mounts when you first buy it, it's an item, but it's actually a spell. And in Classic, it's actually a spell when you right click it. Anyways, so when you right click it, you're going to see, oh, I can't build that far away, but I can turn it. So with my character, I can turn the chair however I want, and then I can place it. I can make sure the angle's really nice and tight. And then the issue is, see right here, target is too low. But if I was able to, then I would be able to just click it and then it would spawn after he did a build. If you're building a house, then, oh, hi, how you doing? If you're building a house, then what you might end up doing is you might be building it for 10 minutes. It might be building it for 5 minutes. And now this guy wants to attack me too. So it depends on what it is. If it's really small, you might see hammer. You might say poke it down and then poof, it's there. But it depends on what sort of house or what sort of thing you're trying to build for your plot. But let's get into the plot management because we haven't really went down into the professions, and so I can't really show you the chairs yet or the different cool housing plots that you can choose from as far as buildings or things of that nature. Let's get back into the specifics. So as I said before, you're going to be able to move it. Let's say you place down a object or you have an issue. You can, in fact, if I had an object, move it already once you place it. So you can adjust it if you made a mistake. There is a limit to how many you can spawn in. We're probably going to do, say, about 30 or so, or maybe we might say make you pay a little bit extra gold in order to spawn in more. Or you can remove them all if you're trying to get rid of your plot. Then you have NPC options. NPC options, we're not too sure what we're going to do yet with it. We might just leave it to where you can't spawn in, but it's possible we might let you, for example, have a banker there. No, we're not going to let you have an auction house, but maybe you'll have a bank. Maybe. We'll see. Your personal goblin in a chain, please let me out. So, yeah. Then, in addition to that, you can, of course, upgrade your house. You can increase the size. You can increase the object size, the object amount. You can increase NPC, you name it. In addition to that, bear in mind, you can also increase the size of the object. So if the chair is too small, you can increase the size of the chair. Whatever you want. We tried making it as customizable as possible for you. You can also summon your friends. So your friends, you can bring to your house in the world. You can rename your house. And you can set an entry point for the house for where your friends get summoned in case you want to summon them into your dungeon. But, you can do that whatever you like. You can also add members to your house. So if I see right here, we can see that I'm a member. I can see that I can currently allowed. I could change it, but I can mass summon all my friends. I could invite members. I could remove members. I could send announcements, change permissions, allow them to spawn objects. Highly customizable. Now, we will do stuff with guild halls eventually. Keep in mind, though, we are being very separate with player housing versus guild halls. Halls are going to come way later in the future, but it will be a completely different system. For now, this is you for personalized housing. Now, you can also send, as I said before, guild house. Get over here now, or you all are fired. Anyone who's a member of my house will then have a house announcement at the bottom left, just like this. So you're going to be able to notify all your guys, and they're like, oh, shoot. And then they go. Now, what's preventing people from, say, buying a plot and then never logging in again, right? That would really suck. We're going to implement a tax system. You're going to have to pay at the end of every month X amount of gold. If you don't have this amount of gold, then you're not going to be able to upkeep your place. For now, it will just remove. However, it's very possible that in the future, once we get past release, we'll make it possibly so that way you get stuff returned to you in the mail or something like that in case you fail it. But for the time being, it will just remove your plot of land. It may even do an announcement for land grabs, but who knows? Now, that's pretty much the understanding of the housing system. You can sell it. You can do what you like with it. Basically, it's as customizable as you can possibly get. It's going to be UI based. It's going to have a nice UI. This is where we have been spending a lot of time in, is making things look as Blizz-like as possible and the quality to make it great for you guys and have fun in. Because we're not in it to make profit off of this stuff. We're just in it to make the game super fun. So now we're going to open this up. We've shown basically everything we possibly can for the time being. We're going to open this up for 15 minutes, unless Bender has to say something for 15 minutes for any questions. I would like to preferably do it over voice. There's a raise hand button at the bottom that you can do, and then you can ask your question. Please keep it as respectful as possible, because I really don't want to have to mute or something, because I don't understand really how this live devblog on the stage works in essence. But go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. If not, we'll close it up in 15 minutes. And I really hope that this answered a lot of your guys' questions in regards to what's going on, what we're doing, are we still alive, are we hiding somewhere, etc., etc.
I've got a question to answer before we even get there.
Oh, go ahead, Lambie.
I am currently summoning Rect, as you can see from the stream. So if you could just show. Somebody was asking earlier if the portal on the other continent was replacing the dark portal. The answer is no. The dark portal is here, but you might find it's not where you'd expect.
Yeah, so lots of crazy stuff.
Bum, bum, bum.
Something also to note that I almost forgot to go over, we're going to be implementing testing phases. One of my devs reminded me. Coming up here soon, we're going to be implementing dungeon testing phases to see how our dungeons are going. Maybe you might get DM, it might be random, however it is. I believe Binge also had something to do with community points, something of the sorts in regard to that. We will give more details in the future. Something else to keep in mind as well is we have 2 versions of a Necromancer. We have 100% EverQuest, the EverQuest you love, not EverQuest that you don't know of. We have the EverQuest 100% to a T, basically, of a Necromancer for World of Warcraft, or we have a Necromancer that's been extremely WoWified. That's off of the Necromancer, that's off of the Warcraft 3 kind of vibes. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow you guys to basically play test both of them during our dungeon testing as well as some leveling. And we're going to put you guys to a vote. You're going to have 1 trainer per playthrough, basically, as a Necro. And it's going to give you all your spells right off the bat, in essence, or you'll be able to train them as you go. And at the end of playing of our testing, we're going to ask you a question. For those who did play Necromancer, would you like Necromancer A or Necromancer B? Whichever Necromancer has the most votes, and whichever Necromancer has, say, the best feedback, if you will, we're going to go with that Necro. So that's going to be the official spells, the official talents, whatever we have at that time, and we're going to grow the Necro off of that. So it's not like we have everything done 1 to 60 per se already for the Necromancer, but we need to know your guys' feedback. Is it too much like a warlock? Is it too much like a mage? Does it feel too weird like a warrior? Is it too caster? Is it too instant? What's going on here? And tell us how you guys feel about it, because there's a lot of other servers that are doing Necromancers, and, well, let's just put it this way. I want ours to feel the best. So there's that. Anyways, let's go into questions now, wrap things up. Anyone who has a question, raise your hand. And we have everyone on the team as far as heads here, so we'll be able to answer your question right away. Fedora, go ahead. Let's see here. I think Fedora tried raising his hand, but then it disappeared. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. We're still getting used to this.
Yeah, I had a question earlier. What's your stance on GDKPs and gold buying, even if it's like not botted, but you're still selling gold, like legitimate gold?
I'll let Lemby answer that one.
The head guy, that's the law person, answer that one.
I know.
that is one
Seems
of
like
those
the most logical
questions.
person to me.
That is one of those questions where there is no correct answer as of this moment. It is something we will probably discuss internally and keep an eye on for this server. I am aware that obviously not botting, but gold selling can ruin economies in games. Doing it for runs is quite unfair to more casual players. It is something that I am hesitant to allow, but we will need to discuss that.
All right, that pretty much answers what I was looking for. Thank you.
All right, no problem, man. Have a good one. I don't know how to remove you from speaker, so I just ask you mute for now. Or I guess that's works.
Yeah,
you can.
I'm the special one, guys. All right, who else has another question?
We can move him back to the audience. It's all right.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got, are you guys changing the talents in any way? Was a question submitted.
The talents themselves are going to be a bit changed. The talent trees have already been slightly modified, but nothing too much to an extent. You can see, for example, our UI is a bit different. We're going to be implementing kind of additions to the standard Ratha Lich King talent trees. But otherwise, we're going to try and keep them relatively the same, other than massive additions, such as, for example, the druids will have more possible maybe forms or temporary forms they can morph into using the talent tree. Mages might have some really cool fire abilities, and the fire, maybe some connection between frost and fire in a middle ground that you can kind of do like frost fire abilities. If you have priests, maybe dark void abilities where you can pull people to a center for dark magic, holy form for holy, things of that nature that basically amplify the already existing class to make them a little bit better. But Neon, you had a question?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone just for what you guys are doing. It's just incredible and it shows really the passion. Been here for a while. Just thank you, first of all. My question would be more for Lambie, the lore guy, right? And it would be, it's also implemented into game mechanics, but at the same time, it's more of a lore question. In terms of legendary weapons and the NPCs that would wield them, being that you change the lore in such an impactful way, are those weapons still going to be some of them lost and maybe implemented into an actual, legendary weapon like Sulphurus and Thunder Fury? Or are they still kind of lost? And I can give an example. Simple Ashbringer is
So it's a great question. So when it comes to legendary weapons, I am always of the stance that legendary weapons that feel unique, feel cool, have good story to be told there, have good ways to obtain them in ways that make sense are absolutely something that people should be doing more of. In terms of things being lost, yes, obviously with lore changes, there will be some legendary weapons that are lost. And hey, who knows? Maybe some players on Azeroth will find some of those.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
The
you.
question I thought is, will new classes and specs be added over time? When we hit, for example, Burning Crusade, we will have that sort of thing, but I don't want to implement classes without some sort of expansion thing, similar to how Blizzard does it in that regard. Specializations, we're going to go more so towards the organization route rather than specializing into the class itself. That way you can get more diversity, if you will, but at the same point, claim your own area, because we're going to implement around, I think, like 6 to 10-ish spells per organization you can use in addition to your class. And then you also have your professions, like some people are saying engineering, and I'm going to build a nuke with engineering. So
And that
that
also, I'd say that also plays into why DK isn't available, isn't a thing right
Yes.
now, because it doesn't happen during this time. It happens during Wrath, which obviously we have a different lore, but that's one reason why that isn't there now.
Great question. I accidentally skipped over the player housing intent for our hardcore players. So for the convenient players or the chill players, we're going to implement apartments into the main cities. So Orgrimmar, Stormwind, Ironforge, I'm getting tired here. All those cities are basically going to have a sort of instanced player housing. You're not going to be able to show it off to your friend. You're not going to be able to be like, hey, look at me, unless you send screenshots. You're not going to be able to have a backyard. You're in an apartment. So you're going to only have an interior type of design that you can kind of do with a pre-made building. So dropping down a building inside of it, it's not going to work. But you will be able to, say, rent higher quality apartments, if you will, compared to others if you want. And those are, I don't want to say infinite. Nothing's infinite in this, but they're relatively infinite.
Yeah, think a bit more Final Fantasy 14 apartment sort of buildings.
Yeah. That was a great question. I totally forgot to go over that second half and the player housing. So thank you so much.
Oops.
Does anyone have questions? Oh.
I'll take all questions if people have them.
What's up, Tara?
Hello, I have another question related to player housing that I think may be interesting to people, and for me as well, of course. It's two questions. First of all, I may have missed this, but is the player housing you place in the world, does it stay there forever unless you can pay the tax, or does it despawn 15 minutes after you unlock, for example?
Can you say the last part? I didn't acknowledge the
Does
last part.
the player housing you place in the world, like the one you showed
Mhm.
in Hellfire, does it stay there forever unless you can pay,
Yes,
or does it
stays there the
despawn?
whole time. So you log out, it's still there.
Okay,
It's
good to
it
know. And
truly
the
stays
other
there.
is the price on the meters. Is it going to change based on the say dangerous on how dangerous a zone is? In a
It's
way
very
that,
possible.
for example, in the desert, it's
Mhm.
going to be very cheap because it's very dangerous, and no one is going to want to be in the desert, for example.
So it's very possible that certain areas might be slightly more expensive than others. For the time being, it's all the same. However, something to keep in mind when you're placing down a house in the world is that with the organizations, if you're, for example, part of SI7 and you're around, say, the Horde area in Durotar, you might get ganked by the opposing quote unquote SI7 faction, the opposite, if you will, of um that group. So you're a part of the SI7 organization, you're running through Durotar. If you're around level 60, you'll be ganked by level 60 NPCs trying to assassinate you for being part of that organization because you chose that path. If you're 40, it'll be around 40, so on and so forth. So when you choose a house, it might be best if you don't want unwelcome visitors randomly appearing sometimes to place it in an area that is also around your organization or part of it, because otherwise, I mean, they might visit you in your house, and let's just say you don't want assassins next to your bed.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you're into that.
Yeah, unless they're into that sort of thing, with the dungeon and all. But anyways, Cole, you now have the mic.
Hey, Rick. Nice to see you again. Got a question. Ranged dead zones. Are those staying or going in the game for final launch? Because they're frankly annoying for ranged players.
Ranged what?
The ranged dead zone. In the Wrathclaw, I think it was at 5 yards.
Yeah, it's a 5-yard thing in regular Wrath.
I think at the current time, it is based on Wrath itself right now, so it would stay with the dead zone. But I mean, if we get enough community feedback by hunters that they want it removed, I don't see why we wouldn't remove it. It's not like we want to keep something that players don't like. So if it's something that needs to be removed in the future, we will. But that also means we have to go through each and every individual spell that they have and change their dead zone. But it still can be done, and that includes rank.
I want to
McCoy, you have
remind everyone that if you are a member of the audience and you enter this channel and it's not your turn, please mute yourself.
does that answer it? I hope.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. McCoy, you have a question?
Actually, I've got two of them. First off, going on to the player housing. I'll join a little late because I got off work. But I've noticed that you could like buy and probably put where you want to. Will like quest hubs and stuff be omitted? Like, I can't come in and drop a housing down in the middle of Goldshire or a quest hub, can I?
No. So with the player housing, we'll have specific areas. It's based off of area IDs we assign. So we're gonna have empty, like completely empty plots. I don't know if you've ever played Arcade before, but it's very similar in that regard, where you're gonna have a certain area that's specifically for player housing.
Yeah, I've played arcade, so that makes sense.
Okay,
My
perfect.
my next question, I don't know if this will go to Lambie or as far as lore. Um, I am very new to this server. I'm very interested in it. That's why I'm here today. But I heard a lot of the old content's getting revamped, those quests and stuff. Again, this could have been answered since I only joined 45 minutes ago. Is there going to be a better quest flow as far as how you quest, like as far as Kata versus 335 client? Because you go to Stranglethorn and start up there at one end and have to go all the way south to Booty Bay to do one quest instead of having it chained and flowed better.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do when I'm designing custom quests, and I can't say this is going to happen for every quest in the game because there is so much to go over, but certainly for the pain points, I'll do this. But for custom quests, definitely, I am absolutely committed to trying to take the Cataclysm approach where you go through an area in a zone and your quests are for that area. You will not be sent all the way to the other side of the zone. You will not be sent from Stranglethorn Vale over to Ratchet to do some rubbish. You will not be sent all over the shop. I am trying to keep things as local as possible to keep that flow in, to keep that sort of engagement high.
Does that answer it for you?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Let's take 3 more questions over voice, and then we'll wrap it up. Quick question for you, Lambie, and then we'll do another one over voice. Will we see quests that were discontinued during Classic or so reworked?
So discontinued during Classic. I mean, I am not entirely sure I have any examples to mind other than things like the Battle of Undercity, which doesn't fit with our lore anyway. But if we have examples of this, and I will be doing research on this after this now that it's been brought up, I will try to re-implement those if they make lore sense.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fedora want to.
Yeah, Federa had a question, and then Neon.
Go for it, man.
Yep. So Hardcore Classic has been doing decently well. What's your stance on implementing a similar mode within this game world?
So, hardcore itself, I personally love as well. However, I don't think it's a cool thing to separate the player base off from hardcore players, which is kind of frustrating because being a private server, we're like, do we have a server specifically just for it, or what's going on in that regard? So, what I kind of want to do here is similar to how other servers do it. I want to test it with a seasonal system first, where we're going to have a different server for it. This is idea based. It's not saying it's 100%. But say, for example, the first one will be, hey, you're in hardcore mode, WoW, where everything, it's like one life, one death. You have food, water, nutrition, you have fresh water, you have to eat constantly, and basically you have to survive. It's like completely trying to 100% survive in WoW, but on a different server in that regard. So it's correct survival WoW. These are the sort of things I want to do. And then if they're successful, I'll bring them over into the main server as kind of a way to be able to play. But tuning it to where, say you hit level 60 as going through that amount, maybe you don't, or you get to choose if you want to be alone in that regard. But it still stays, if you will, in the same way. It's not punishing. That's primarily the idea, though. I don't want to separate the player base to say, yeah, I hit level 60 now in hardcore, but now I can't play with my friends. I really want to try to find a middle ground to that, and so it's something me with the team have to talk about and trying to figure out how to make that possible.
That's really cool and really exciting. Thank you for that.
No problem. Let's go 2 more. Let's try to aim for
Neon has one.
Yeah, let's aim for 1 more question from Neon, and then 1 more question from someone who hasn't asked a question before over voice, and then we'll wrap this up and end the stage. Neon, go ahead.
Yeah, so again, a question for Lambie. He pretty much told me to ask a lot of questions. I will not try to ask big ones because I also want to be a little bit, be a surprise. But being on the big change, especially in Lordaeron, not only with the undead, but for people who played, knowing who the Death Knight became, Arthas, and all that part of the story, is the Cult of the Damned still suppressed to the areas of Scholomance because it was defeated somehow, or being that Arthas didn't do the choices that he did, is it more of a threat, and will we go more against it than just Scholomance, a corner in a zone? Will it have more of a presence in that area, Eastern Plaguelands and Western?
That is a great question. We haven't really done much mapping yet for the Plagueland zones, but the Court of the Damned is certainly something that was really interesting to get into, and I think Blizzard kind of did away with it too quickly, kind of like they do with the Defias. So they are something I could certainly see returning, and something that I personally want to bring back. So hopefully we will see them play out in a little bit higher of a thing than they currently do.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yep. All right, we'll take 1 more question from someone who hasn't asked a question over voice before. If you want to raise your hand, I'd say do it now. Whoever raises it first will answer.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right, exactly. And then we will leave the rest of the text questions to our wonderful chat management.
Hello.
No, I don't think so. Is the answer to your
Aw.
question ever, Junior?
Yeah, that one's not happening. I think Matt had a question. I saw it pop up for a moment. It's so weird of a system.
It kind of, yeah.
I've got a question, if that's allowed.
Oh. There's
Go for it. Let's answer Matt's question first, though.
Do you
There it
hear
is.
me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I don't know if you put anything about the mount system. Really nice way to do it. But will there be a way to be able to like get the mounts from the different races? Like say I'm a orc, I want the tower mount. Is there gonna be like a quest chain you can do to be like, now the Taurens like me, now I'm able to buy their mount or get their mounts? Or are they just open for me as a horde player?
Great question. So one of the things that Zero mentioned as well previously is that for these mounts, they're kind of categorized. So for the time being, as it stands, what we'll eventually do for this is we'll make it so that way there's a possibility of having a Tauren mount or a Kodo, better to say, that's not the original racial Kodo, but will be a separate variation of it that will have that same mount speed. So you won't be able to get the original, if you will, but you'll be able to get a kind of variety-based one. As
A
far as
brainwashed one.
reputations, though, Lambie would be able to answer that one a little bit better.
Not really in terms of lore implications. I mean, I'm pretty sure that once the Tauren are friendly with the Tauren, with the orcs, they wouldn't be so against somebody riding a Kodo.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the ordinary. Is there gonna be ordinary mount, like vanilla mounts or retail mount, as you call it, like the 60% and the 100%
Yes.
without spells?
Yes. That
Yeah.
will be 100% actually the standard, completely as it currently
Yeah.
stands right now. You will have your 60 and your 100 as completely standard mounts.
And it was in that kind of area also I was wanted to touch about, like you will be able to get all races mounts, like maybe in a smaller quest chain or like a reputation system or something like that.
That may require multiple characters as it is for right now because of the alliance. However, for the time being, I would just only be able to answer it by saying having multiple characters for alts because it is cross character.
Oh yeah,
Same
okay.
thing in regards to the other mounts as well, in order to get those specific ones. But
okay.
yeah, there you go. Though I hope that answered it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's answer everything.
Perfect. I'm happy to hear that. We're going to wrap this up because my voice is disappearing. I hope this answered a lot of your guys' questions as to what we're doing and what's going on over here and if we disappeared and things of that nature.
Hey, I had a question.
Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Lenny.
I had two actually. First, we're recording this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm streaming right now.
Just making sure.
Yes.
Second of all, and this is probably the one that people are wondering the most. When are we looking to start testing and getting some of these guys in to look at some of this stuff?
It depends on Zero finishing the launcher. Not to put pressure on him. It depends on when he finishes the launcher to make sure that this doesn't become Armageddon again.
To be clear, that's not me. That's the other guy.
Yeah. It's Zero, not
and
Zero.
Don't harass the staff.
Zero does a launcher, Zero does a spells.
Don't even try to harass the staff.
So yeah, once we get the launcher up, then basically it's like a 1 to 2 weeks after that. But then we can go into some form of decent testing in that regard. at least after we test servers and we make sure some systems are in play and everything else. So maybe not 1 to 2 weeks. Maybe we're talking 3 or whatever, but we'll find out. It's around that time period, basically, of the launcher being done. So, Zero, do you have any questions or you want to say anything really quick while you are here?
Believe
Putting all
he
the pressure on you.
believe he may have backed out as you were talking about it.
Oh no, he's here.
Yeah, I think I saw him heading for the exit.
Mm-hmm.
What's
think
your
I did
other
too.
question, Limber?
Didn't you guys tie him up? I told you to do it. Like,
I tried. Sorry.
fair enough. Well, all right, let's wrap this up. Let's all go have some dinner for everyone who's in the EU and for everyone who is in the US. Go have some lunch. We hope you enjoyed, and we look forward to seeing you guys later on. We'll be in general chat for a little bit, or at least quite a bit of our staff if you have any follow-up questions that we may or may not have answered earlier. But otherwise, take care, guys.
Take care.
What, none of you guys are going to
Yep.
say bye? Like,
Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day, guys.